All right. What's up, PLX Sales Day? Super excited to dive into a little bit more about what we've been up to at Crossbeam, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first off, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to the entire PLX team for putting this entire summit together. I don't know about everyone else here, but I've been every single session that I'm watching, I'm just getting more and more pumped that the time really is now for partnerships. And I am happy for Crossbeam to be a very, very small part of that. So we're going to talk a little bit about Crossbeam Sales Edge, which is the newest solution of the Crossbeam offering. But before we go into that, I just wanted to say a couple things. One, if you have any questions, go ahead, drop them in the Q&A. After I wrap up a quick presentation, I will dive in there and I'll be happy to answer as many as I can or as many as time allows. The other thing is for a quick introduction. So my name is Adam Mahalski. I started a company called Partnered, which was a Y Combinator backed company that was acquired by Crossbeam about 5 months ago. So we joined the Crossbeam team, and the existing partnered solution is what ultimately became Sales Edge. So heading up Sales Edge at Crossbeam today. For folks who aren't aware of what Crossbeam is, it's a partner ecosystem platform that has over 11,000 companies on it, including some massive, awesome companies like Adobe, Salesforce, so on and so forth. It's a way to automate like account mapping with all of your partners. With that said, I'm going to go ahead. I will share my screen real quick. All right. So we're going to cover a bunch here. Basically, what I wanted to do is kind of just give a little bit of a background on, what is Sales Edge, why do we build it? So the agenda that we'll cover here is what we're calling ecosystem-led sales. What is ecosystem-led sales? What is Crossbeam Sales Edge? What are the benefits for salespeople? What are the benefits for partner managers? We'll actually jump into a quick demo, and then I'll cover some quick FAQs. And then for anybody who makes it towards the end of this presentation, we're going to include a special benefit for all PLX attendees. So just a little bit of incentive for you to last the entire 30 minutes that we have here together. So sweet, let's go ahead and dive in. Ecosystem-led sales. So I think you've probably heard a lot about this today, that how deals get done is changing. There's a whole variety of macro reasons why this is the case. But ultimately, it sucks for salespeople. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, if you're a salesperson and you're trying to generate, sufficient pipeline, it's becoming increasingly difficult, and it was even difficult, before. So there's also this interesting stat, that over 90% of cold outreach is ineffective. And for anybody who's done sales, you probably know how hard that is. What's really interesting, though, is that there's this entire ecosystem or network that almost every single B2B SaaS company has, i.e. their partner ecosystem, which when you really take a step back and you think about it, like what it is actually kind of a salesperson network. Like once two partners connect and they form a relationship, if you're doing any form of co-selling, what you're doing is you're actually just building the salesperson network, where one salesperson can speak to another salesperson who's already closed the deal that they want to close, for example, and either get an introduction into that account, a recommendation from that account, or even just information like, who should they sell to? Why should they be like, what does that, buyer care about? All the things that they need to basically get their deal done quicker. And this works. What's super cool about this is that co-selling isn't new. It's something that's been working for quite some time. At Crossbeam, we've compiled a bunch of awesome resources here. We'll share this deck after the fact, but co-selling leads to 50% shorter sales cycles, 200% bigger deal sizes, and just higher close rates. So it's actually one of the most efficient growth channels that you have in terms of really ramping up your go-to-market. And the interesting thing is that most sales leaders actually already know this, but they're still struggling, because co-selling is it's a different motion. It's not something that a lot of salespeople are accustomed to doing. And even in our experience, what we saw was about 10 to 15% of salespeople understand this motion and really nailing it. Ironically, they're usually the best 10 to 15% of salespeople at any given organization, because they kind of figured out the cheat code to sales. But nonetheless, that leaves 85 to 90% of salespeople who don't understand this, nor frankly do they have the tooling to support them. Uh, and a lot of this reason is just that ecosystem-led sales today is just way too manual. Like even with a tool like Crossbeam, where you can automate all of your account mapping, as a partner manager, you still basically have to comb through all of that data, which could be hundreds of thousands, or even the case of some of our larger clients, millions of overlaps. And then you have to basically sift through that and then almost act as like a human dot connector to go back and forth to the sales team and basically run those leads back and forth, have them connect with the partner, and then try and track everything. This is a huge huge ask of a partner manager, and oftentimes a partner manager spending 50%, if not more, of their time basically just acting as that human dot connector and connecting all these leads to the sales team, to the partner, and tracking everything. So in short, like, what is Sales Edge? Sales Edge is basically the solution to a lot of those problems that we were just talking about. And we're going to walk through all of that right now. Now, for any existing Crossbeam customer, Sales Edge basically sits as an additional layer on top of Crossbeam. You can kind of think about it where if Crossbeam is LinkedIn, Sales Edge is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You're still going to do all of your, connecting with partners in Crossbeam. You're still going to figure out, any of your data sharing and all of that in Crossbeam. None of that is going to change. However, you're not going to give access to Crossbeam to your sales team because they're not going to create reports. They're not going to use the interface or the UI that Crossbeam offers today. Sales Edge exists to solve that. It's basically a purpose-built solution for salespeople and really thinking about all this new second-party data from a salesperson lens. And basically purpose-built like a solution just for those salespeople, where what you can see here is if you look from left to right, what we're going to do is we're going to ingest all the Crossbeam overlaps that you already had, that you've already created, in Crossbeam, or what we're calling now Crossbeam Core. And then because we are connected to the CRM, we'll know each salesperson's personal book of business. So that we can overlap those two, understand where are the best places that a salesperson could be working with partners, and then push all of that, those actionable insights, directly to the salesperson where they already live. Places like Salesforce, email, Slack, LinkedIn, or even some really cool stuff that we'll show you in a minute, like in-app called Deal Navigator. But what this does is for the salesperson, it just makes life super easy. They don't have to go and comb through hundreds of thousands of records to figure out who they should be working with. We're going to tell them, in real time exactly where they should be working with partners. The most importantly, we're just going to give them a way to actually action on that, which we'll show you in a minute. Real quick, I just want to talk about how it works. This is pretty plug and play. It's something where most Sales Edge users are going to get configured and set up in less than 10 minutes or less than 5 minutes in some instances. You basically log in with your existing Crossbeam credentials. You can invite your salespeople, and then from there, Sales Edge is going to work in the background, sifting through all the data and getting it to the right salespeople in the right places, as we discussed on the previous screen. So a good example of this is we're talking about the actionability of this is, Sales Edge will basically sift through those overlaps and then send a weekly email, or like a real-time email to your prospects or to your sales team, whenever somebody from your partner ecosystem closes a deal that they're trying to break into or maybe have an active opportunity with. We can do this not only just via emails, but you can do this in Slack. We can also do this as they're looking through Salesforce, and or even just prospecting in LinkedIn and trying to figure out who they should be talking to. So it brings not only the awareness of who they should be working with from the partners, but also brings it down to one click where they can actually action on it. And yeah, we talked a little bit about this before, but I just want to reemphasize it because I think it's a really good analogy. Again, Crossbeam is if you think about Crossbeam as LinkedIn, Sales Edge is LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So Crossbeam Core is not going anywhere. It's still going to be the tool that you all know and love. And in fact, we're happy to also announce that there's over 11,000 companies now on the Crossbeam network, including some of these huge companies that you see here today, many of which are probably even listening on this call because you're forward thinking and you're part of the PLX, the PLX summit here. Cool. The one other thing that I do want to make sure that we specifically talk about is that for partner managers, attribution has long been a very, very difficult problem. And we'll talk a little bit about this in more detail as we go through the demo. But that's one thing that we've incorporated into Sales Edge as well, is we want to make sure that the partnership leaders are actually getting tracking and credit for all of their hard work. So not only are we delivering, the right places and actionable insights to the sales team, but we've also built in tracking so that the partner managers can make sure that all of the sourced and influenced deals are getting properly attributed and then being routed back into your CRM and back into your existing reporting. Cool. I will take a quick pause over here just to say, again, for anybody, if you have any questions whatsoever, drop them into the Q&A. I will definitely be going, if they're not already addressed throughout the course of the rest of the presentation here, if we have a couple minutes at the end of this, I will make sure that I can address as many of those as possible. Or one thing that I'll call out, I'm also in Partnership Leader, so hit me up there if you have any questions as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some benefits for salespeople. Now, one of the biggest benefits is if a partner has already closed a deal that you as a salesperson want to close. The clearest one is clearly the introduction. So you can get Sales Edge could push alerts when a partner closes your prospect, and then you go ahead and you get connected in one click. We have some awesome case studies that we've shown here that also you can look into, but it's not just the introduction. I think a lot of folks will oftentimes just assume that co-selling is just all about introductions, but what we've seen is that the power of co-selling is also in the influence portion of it, the information that oftentimes a partner can provide on who to target at an account, how's the buying process conducted there, what are the things that they care about, what are the KPIs, like how's the legal or the procurement process, or what are the things that they care about. That information oftentimes is as valuable, if not more valuable, than an introduction. And somebody who's been down that buyer's journey, particularly recently, is somebody who can actually help you guide you down that process. And we've seen that be as effective as 44% shorter sales cycles. Last but not least is also just recommendations. The more closely that you work with partners, the more that they're going to understand your solution, and the more that they're going to be able to actually keep an ear out, for if there's any particular problem that the prospect is having. They're going to be much more willing to basically say, hey, did you hear about XYZ solution? And, use a little bit of their influence to help you actually fast track any of your deals. So there's a whole bunch of features that Sales Edge offers to support a lot of those workflows that we just talked about. But a bunch of these are the push notification alerts, Chrome extension, the Salesforce widget that's available in Crossbeam today. You can also enrich it with the actionability and the connection so that you can message any of the partners. There's also a lot of cool functionality around collaboration, where if you want to, for example, as a partner manager, create a list of here are the top 20 opportunities where you should be working with partners, and share that directly with your account executive. You can tag those all quickly and just send over that list via a quick URL, and then they can action on it straight from that list. Or for example, if you're an AE and you're working with your SDR and you want to, have the SDR put together the list, and then you work on the co-selling together. Collaboration is one of the things that's built into Sales Edge as well. And then also things like advanced company and partner search, which we'll show you shortly. Just wanted to also include what are some of the quick benefits for a partner manager. Now we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the big one is basically, as a partner manager, this entire exercise of having to go from Crossbeam data to partner manager to salesperson to partner manager to salesperson, and oftentimes, have to wash, rinse, repeat a couple times across this journey over here. With Sales Edge, this quickly becomes archaic. It allows the salesperson to communicate directly with the other salesperson while still keeping the partner manager in the process. We effectively will CC partner managers on the conversation so that they have full access and full visibility. And there's also an entire suite of controls that the partner manager has here as well, where if they want to perhaps, before the salesperson reach out, have to approve it, we can configure that and do all those control settings as well. But the big thing is this entire playing dot connector, which again can take up to 50%, if not more, of a partner manager's time, becomes pretty archaic once you start, using like a workflow tool like Sales Edge. And we talked a little bit about this, before, but you're still going to maintain as a partner manager. We have this concept of, which partners are associated with you, so that you can maintain full visibility of every single interaction that's happening. Think about it as like a shared Slack channel, except, significantly better, because not only are you going to be able to see everything in one quick view, but we also have attribution, built in, so that you can really track everything and then have that flow back into your CRM. As well as like a handful of other features here, not only including the partner manager dashboard, but we'll talk a little bit about the sourced and influence tracking, and then as well as the Salesforce attribution export and those collaborative lists that we talked about earlier. So awesome, cool. Let's dive into a quick demo. We'll show you exactly how this works. Before we do so, though, I just wanted to quickly set the stage and provide like a narrative around the demo so that you understand like what data is what when we go into the tool. And I think we talked about this before, but then the platform layer of Crossbeam, otherwise known as Crossbeam Core, is the Crossbeam that you know and love today. It's the ability to basically automate your account mapping, connect with partners, figure out when you should be, prioritizing integrations or doing co-marketing or doing co-selling. In this case, Jim Jones works for a company called Crowd Blossom. He's the head of technology partnerships there. And what his job is ultimately he wants to basically take all this awesome data that exists in Crossbeam, get it in front of Sawyer Porter, who's the growth account executive, who ultimately has to use that data to connect with partners. And then that way, Jim Jones gets his credit for partner source or partner influenced revenue. But as you notice here, a large portion of Jim's job is contingent upon Sawyer actually using that data and actually, connecting with the partner. And this is super common. I mean, for most partner managers, the core KPI for them is partner sourced or partner influenced revenue. So it's kind of this situation where if Sawyer and the rest of the growth account executives are using, the data and actually co-selling, then Jim's super happy. He's probably crushing his goals and getting big bonuses. But the problem is that this entire process is super manual, so Jim only has X amount of time, like hours in his day, and he can't route every conceivable lead to Sawyer and the rest of the group of the account executives. So that's really kind of where Sales Edge comes in. Sales Edge, removes Jim from having to be that manual dot connector that we talked about earlier, but still giving Sawyer everything that everything that he and the rest of the account executives need and more to know when to actually work with the partner and how to quickly action on it. So we'll walk through a quick user journey here where Sawyer, for example, just got started at Crowd Blossom. He's trying to break into an account called WalkMe, which is a cold prospect of his. However, what Sawyer doesn't know is that, and what Sawyer doesn't know and Jim does know, is that WalkMe is already a customer of one of their partners, Holver. And Holver, because they already have them as a customer and it's already an integration partner of Crowd Blossom, like Holver would be totally willing to give a warm introduction or a recommendation or information. But, in this case, Sawyer's not sifting through Crossbeam Core and doesn't, have the opportunity to basically even know that Holver already closed them. Where Sawyer is living is in places like LinkedIn and email and Salesforce. So we'll show you a quick overview of how Sawyer would work with Crowd Blossom's tech partner using Sales Edge. Now, the quick example that I'm going to provide here is pretty common. If you're a salesperson and you're going to log into your account, first thing that you're going to probably want to do is actually, in this case, that account was WalkMe. You probably want to go check out and see who you should be selling to at WalkMe, or maybe if you have any existing connections. So you'll notice that over here, I'm going to go to the WalkMe page on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden this Chrome overlay on the right side from Sales Edge will just pop up and actually cross-reference all of the Crossbeam Core data that you already have, all the overlaps that exist, and it will tell me that Holver, our partner, already has WalkMe as a customer. And then now, if I want to actually kick off, that request to the partner, I could do that as easily as just one click over here to kick off that message between myself and the partner directly in Sales Edge. One thing I will quickly change over here is that I need to go back to CrowdBlossom, and let me just change my authentication. Cool. All right. So you guys are getting a little bit of a sneak preview on how easy this is to go back and forth between both products. But what's cool is over here, you'll see that if I want to kick off a message, it's going to go ahead and open up this chat where the partner managers will automatically be CC'd in the conversation. And then from here, you can go ahead and you can communicate directly with the partner. If the partner is already using Sales Edge, which we have over 20 organizations that are already on the platform, you can go ahead and you can communicate back and forth with them. If they're not already on Sales Edge, what you're actually able to do is over 11,000 companies are already on the Crossbeam network. You can still message the partners or the partner managers who are using Crossbeam, and they can actually loop in salespeople to this, what we call like reply only experience, where completely for free, they can go ahead and they can run these co-selling motions, even if they're not actually using the Sales Edge product. So it's super cool from that standpoint. Also, one of the things that we talked about that I want to make sure is called out here is that whenever these conversations are completed, you'll be able to actually, as a partner manager, track these for attribution purposes. So you'll be able to say whether it was sourced, it was influenced, and then we can have that data flow back into the CRM for you. So that's one piece of functionality that we offer here, and it's not the one thing that I will call out is it's not just the LinkedIn workflow. It's also the ability to, that same workflow works in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We have overlays that work in the Salesforce instance. We can push, notifications directly to your salespeople in Slack or email. So it's really a comprehensive strategy that wherever the salesperson is, they can be alerted of these actionable insights and connect directly with the partner in their place of choice. Cool. So we ran a beta over the course of the past 45 days, and Gong was one of the early beta participants. Ian McDonald, who's a customer account executive at Gong, said, I quote, "My prospecting possibilities opened up immediately once I started using Sales Edge. I live in Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, so being able to see the other applications my clients and prospects were using opened up possibilities big time." Awesome. Cool. So I just want to wrap up with a couple FAQs, and then we will get to the special announcement that I talked about earlier on in the session. Just quick hitters on the FAQs. What's included in Crossbeam Core versus Sales Edge? So Crossbeam Core, again, is the tool that everybody or most folks at this point are definitely aware of. It's the automated account mapping tool with over 11,000 companies. It's purpose-built for partnership teams, and that's really kind of the ability to connect with your partners, conduct the automated account mapping, and continue basically leveraging all of that data or the second-party data for co-marketing or the ability to evaluate integrations or even figure out co-selling via the reporting mechanisms in there. What Crossbeam Sales Edge differs is that it's really purpose-built for the sales team and kind of goes through all of those actionable insights and co-selling workflows that we just discussed. One of the other, FAQs is, for salespeople, is this just another tool? Is it too much data? The short answer is no. Like at the end of the day, like the sales team doesn't need to use a dashboard or another tool. They can basically set Sales Edge and forget it, and have Sales Edge ultimately like work in the background, pushing them the information that on which partners to work with and when. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I just want to reemphasize is the need to control sharing. So for partner managers, particularly as you're getting started with Sales Edge, it's one of the things where it's very common for folks to want to basically almost like have every single interaction get approved by a partner manager. This is 100% in your control. Like as a partner manager, you can choose when to control or which partners can be contacted. And if you want to basically approve every single interaction for any reason, you can go ahead and do so. And last but not least, we talked about this a little bit as well, but if your partner isn't on Sales Edge, it doesn't matter. As long as they are a Crossbeam customer, you can still action, i.e. message them. So it is not contingent upon your partner being on Sales Edge. We've built Sales Edge in such a way that it piggybacks on the 11,000 plus company network that is Crossbeam, so that you can still, communicate directly with your partners, even if they are not on Sales Edge. We also have a bunch of documentation listed in the Crossbeam Health Center. So if you have any questions on this, again, check that out in the Crossbeam Health Center, or you can reach out to me directly, and I'm more than happy to speak with you about it. Cool. Last but not least, Sales Edge is live actually as of 1 week ago. So 1 week ago today, the Crossbeam Connector Summit, which was our user summit that we did, Crossbeam Sales Edge was announced and live and ready and accessible. So the one thing that I will call out is that you must be a Crossbeam customer to access Sales Edge. You must also be on either the Connector tier or Supernode tier of Crossbeam Sales Edge. And it is a paid product. It works with basically a $500 platform fee, which includes 5 seats, and then any incremental seat you can add for $60 per seat per month. So it really scales with you depending on the size of your sales team. You can go ahead and sign up here, which is basically just a link out directly to crossbeam.com/how it works. Sales Edge. So if you go to our website and you click on the How It Works page and you click on Sales Edge, you can go ahead there, and that's where you can learn more from our team, who'd be more than happy to give you a spin of the tool or answer any of your questions. You guys have been great. So as I mentioned, the one thing that I also want to call out here is we've locked in Crossbeam Supernode 2023. I think a lot of folks on this call were at the previous Supernode 2022 in Philadelphia, which was an awesome event. But for Supernode 2023, we're going even bigger. It's going to be June 5th through 7th in San Diego, California. For folks who are listening right now, we're providing early access tickets available for $599 or 20% off up until November 30th. Go ahead and we'll link you out to this link afterwards, but this is a special link that you can use to get that discount code in the event that you're interested. But yeah, we're super excited for next year and being able to basically bring together a bunch of awesome partnership professionals, as well as sales professionals, marketing professionals, to talk a little bit about partnerships and kind of continue the discussions that are occurring like here and all over the place. So that's a little bit of everything that I had to cover here. I'm going to now switch gears to the Q&A and see if there's any questions that we had here in the 2 seconds that I got a chance to read this. All right. I see Will Taylor, who here engages with their sales team on the daily/weekly. I mean, for us, we practice what we preach at Crossbeam. What's super cool is we've been early adopters of the Crossbeam Sales Edge solution, and it's been a game changer for us in terms of making sure that the sales team is actually engaging with partners, but also that all the partner source and influence tracking is actually being properly tracked. Alan, good question. Can you talk a little bit about CS teams using Sales Edge? Yeah, 100%. So for CS teams, you're able to also leverage Sales Edge the same way that like a sales rep would. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of a different experience for customer success teams where they are working with clients that are already customers of their organization, and oftentimes the big difference maker for them is working with tech integration partners who may want to or figuring out where they should be integrating. And they have a huge, need or a huge reason to do so, because it allows them to basically, reduce churn whenever they have more integrations. I also will call out, Alan, I know you're going to be going through much more detail on this very soon. So if you're listening, check out Alan's session because he's going to be going into much more detail. But in Sales Edge, you can configure it so that if you only want to know where customer to customer overlaps are and get notifications about that, you can do that, which is what we recommend for CS people. Cool. All right.